Hey guys, what's up? It's Eric with Advanced Level Automotive. Wanted to make a real quick video. Got this 2005 Chevy Suburban. It's got the 5.3 liter engine, and a real common issue on these is that the blower motor does not blow any air. So we have it at full speed, or whatever speed you want to put it on. There is no airflow coming out of the vents. First place we want to check underneath the glove box area. Let's go over there. So here we are on the passenger side. One of the things that I should mention is that this one does have the automatic climate control. So when we remove this bottom cover, this cover has two 7mm bolts. It's really easy to just remove them, and this cover just falls right out. If we look up here underneath, you can see that the blower motor is located right here, and the blower motor power module, in this case, it's also known as a resistor, but in this case it's a power module because it's a digital type resistor. You're going to see that there's a connector here with 3 wires, and then there's also 2 other wires coming off of it, and those 2 wires are the power and the ground for the blower motor, so they go back to the blower motor. All right, so looking at the wiring diagram, if you look over here, this is where the blower motor control processor or module is located, and this is the switch that's in the dash where you adjust the speed, the blower speed, and then this is the actual blower motor right here. So again, we have the 2 wires that go to the blower motor, and then we have the 3 wires that control the module. So if we look here, you're going to see that there's a ground on this black wire. There is a battery power on this red wire, and then on this purple white wire is the speed control. And what we're going to look for is the varying voltage. So let's go over to the vehicle and check it out. All right, so coming back underneath the passenger side glove box area here. Again, we're going to focus on this 3-pin connector here, or this 3-wire connector, and I'm just going to do a quick check using any voltmeter. You can probably pick up just a cheap voltmeter at your local auto parts store. What I'm going to be using today is the power probe, again just because it's simple to read, and I'm going to be using a T-pin to back probe the connector here. Again, looking at the wires, we have a red wire, this purple wire, and this black wire. So we can go ahead and just slide this T-pin in, and we're going to look at the red wire, and we should have battery voltage here. So if I touch it, let me double check my connection here. Make sure you're all the way in there, making a good connection. And as you can see, we have 12.4 volts. So we have a good fuse that's feeding good power to this module here. And second, we're going to check the ground. So I'm going to slide this in here. And this is the black wire. We want to check and see if it's a good ground. I got 0 volts there. So we know our ground is good. Next thing we want to do is we want to check this purple wire. And what we want to see here is a varying voltage that's getting sent from the control head unit. So I'm going to slide my back probe in there. Guys, so I just switched over to this big voltmeter just because it's a lot easier to read, but we're reading about 4.6 volts right now, and the blower is at full speed. So I'm going to go ahead and start moving it down. I'm going to go ahead and start going down on the blower speed, and you can see as I go down, the voltage starts to rise, and at all the way down, it's at 12.9 volts. You can see we're at the bottom bar, and as I start raising the blower speed, you'll see that voltage change. So that's really all we're looking for on this purple and white wire. All we want to see is a voltage change. We're not really too concerned with what we see, just as long as we see something there and we see it changing as we change the blower speed. All right, so to check the connection to the blower motor, we went ahead and disconnected it. Again, we have 2 wires. There's a purple wire, which is going to be our 12-volt feed to the blower motor, and then the black wire is going to be the ground. And this ground actually grounds back through the power module, which grounds through this black wire. And we've already verified that we have a good ground on this black wire. So let's go ahead and check for power on this purple wire. And as you can see, I got 12 volts on that purple wire, got good power. So we have power going to the blower motor. And let me check the ground here. And by the way, the blower speed is on high right now. So if you look, we have a high voltage on the ground. So we have about 1 volt on the ground circuit here, which is not good. So this leads me to believe that our problem is in the power module here. This blower motor resistor slash power module slash whatever you want to call it. So Basically, this ground for the blower motor grounds through this power module, which grounds to this black wire, which grounds somewhere on the body. One of the ways I can verify that this is our problem, I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this. And then what I want to do is I want to basically, I'm just going to pierce this wire. And as you can see, we have power on that. I'm going to ground it. And the way I'm going to ground it is using this power probe. If I flick this rocker switch to the down position, I'm going to be giving this thing a ground. So I'm going to ground it. And you can hear the blower motor come on. I mean, I know you're not going to be able to feel it through the camera, but the blower motor is blowing right now at full speed. And now I let it off and the blower stops working. And you can see our voltage came back. So basically, our problem here is not the blower motor. Our problem is going to be in this power module here. So we're going to replace it real quick. All right, so I got the new part here. As you can see, there's the AC Delco number, and right below it is the GM number. All right, so right away you can see that this power module looks a little different. And the main difference being when they redesigned this, they went ahead and integrated the two connectors into one. So this is going to come as a kit. And if you look here, they give you a new harness. This is the end that connects to the blower motor, and this is the end that's going to connect to the power module. And all they did was integrate the two connectors together. So right here you're going to have your two wires that go to the blower motor, and then these are the three wires that control the power module. And then also in the kit they give you little foam washers and two screws to mount the unit. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to install this right here. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is unbolt this old power module, and we're going to be using this 5.5 millimeter socket to remove it. There's one screw, and then the other one. Oh, let me get in there. There's the other screw. We'll pull it right out like that. And so this is the old one. It's getting thrown in the garbage. All right, so next we're going to want to cut this connector. I'm going to want to cut it probably about 4 inches away from the end of the connector. That way we have enough wire. So I'm going to take these wire cutters right here and just cut these individually, one by one. You don't want to cut them together, just in case you have power on one of those wires and you cross the power to the ground. You can have some spark happen whenever you do that. So let's cut it here, and then cut the third wire. All right, so our connector is now cut off. I'm going to be using these wire strippers right here. Any simple wire strippers will work. We're going to go ahead and just strip each of these wires. There's 1, 2, and then 3. So now we have 3 bare wires. You want to do the same thing with your new connector harness. I actually took about 2 inches off of the top of this, just because I don't want too much wire slack hanging underneath this area right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the crimps on. All right, so we're going to be using some crimps, these 16 through 14 gauge size crimps. Crimps are fine as long as you're using these inside of the vehicle, where you know, they're not really exposed to the outside weather conditions and the moisture in the air. These are just fine for being underneath the dash like this. So we're going to go ahead and take the crimp and slide it onto the end of the wire like I did here, and then we're going to take a crimp tool like this here, and you'll see this notch area right here. This is the crimp area, and we're just going to take that wire. So I'm going to try to do this with one hand here, and then we're going to crimp down the wire. All right, so when we crimp the wire down, that's going to leave an indentation. That indentation right here is going to secure that wire inside of the crimp, and then on the other end we're just going to stick it onto here, and then we're going to crimp the other end of it. All right, so for the smaller purple wire, you're going to want to use this 22 to 18 gauge crimp. This is a lot thinner wire, so you're going to want to use a smaller crimp. All right, so this part is pretty straightforward. We're going to color match the wires. We're going to slide the crimps in, and then we're going to crimp them down. And what that's going to do is that's going to attach the 2 wires, and then we're going to do the same thing for the rest of the wires. All right, so the next thing to note is that when you go to mount this thing, you're going to see that when you put it up in there, When you put it up in there, you're going to see that you're going to have this gap right here between the case and this little ear. You look on this side, it's nice and flush with that mounting point, but if you look over here, you're going to see that gap. Well, that's what this foam washer is for right here. So we're going to go ahead and stick it on. To do that, we're just going to peel back this little piece here, and that's going to reveal the adhesive side of it, and we're just going to stick it on the little circle there. And now we can go ahead and mount it. All right, so using the 2 new screws that are supplied in the kit, we're going to go ahead and tighten this thing down. We're going to connect the power module like so, and then we're going to connect the blower motor. This one's always a little trickier. And there you go. Now, before we wrap these in electrical tape, we're going to go ahead and check and verify that the system's working. All right, so for the moment of truth, I'm going to go ahead and start the vehicle and turn the blower all the way up, and we're back in business. See if I can grab something to show you. Blowing nice and strong. If you like the video, please hit like. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can always comment down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And please watch out for the next video. Thanks.